Because now you're going to get wet.
Now you're going to get wet. So they don't go straight into the water. They get a chance to change. The guides also take off the saddles off the swim. So our guides will point out the different crops because to them, they don't know what they are. So you have like a white sandy beach. It's a beautiful beach. You've seen it. So we give guests more beach time.
Kareem's Quest. Travel different from the rest. You're watching Kareem's Quest. Always an adventure when you're watching Kareem's Quest.
In Jamaica, you can find unique spots, and one of the unique spots that I found is this lovely horse tour place, and it's called Sand and Saddle. Beside me is the owner, Jessica. Jessica, walk one.
Well, go on, pick up yourself.
And listen, Jessica is born in Jamaica, people. Note it.
Yes. Yes.
Which way I come
I
from?
still have people when I'm here, especially on the North Coast, thinking I'm a tourist. And I'm like, oh, to many one people, hello.
It's true, man. So we are here at Sand and Saddle. It is in the, what you would call it, on the Trelawny area.
Trelawny, yeah.
Trelawny. So it's basically the border of Trelawny and St. Ann.
Yes. I mean, it's probably about 30 minutes from St. Ann, I guess, about that. Yeah. You're definitely in the Trelawny
From the core of
region.
St. Ann, yeah. But
Yeah.
as you finish Discovery Bay and you enter into Bracco, you find her property right there.
That's right, yeah.
So we put on our helmets now. We're ready. We're mounting the horses. Take me through that tour.
Okay, so you go on a 40-minute trail ride. On that trail ride, you're going through, well, you've seen the trail too, so you can explain it different if I miss anything. You're passing, there's a lot of farmers in the area who plant their crops, and thankfully, thank goodness, the guests pass those crops. So our guides will point out the different crops because to them, they don't know what they are. So you have plantain, green banana.
I saw pumpkin.
Pumpkin, yes, thank you for reminding me. Pumpkin that recently started too. Then you end up on a long strip of beach of white, it's like a white sandy beach. It's a beautiful beach, you've seen it. So we give guests more beach time with how we've restructured.
And the good thing is that it's private beach, right?
Yes, well,
So it's
that strip is public, but most
nobody
of the
really
time,
uses it.
No, unless it's a holiday or something, and even then, it's not rammed. It's more like fishermen at the top part of the beach, so the guests aren't
So
bothered.
there's
or
a lot of
anything.
privacy here.
Yeah, a lot, definitely. You don't get bothered on the tour. So you go up that beautiful beach, and then rather than coming off and doing a loop somewhere else, you do a loop at the top of the beach and come back down that beach. So they are literally getting a beach ride, more of that. So then you come back on the same trail, and then you come back to this private beach, the Sand and Saddle Beach, and you come off of the horses, and then you come to the point where you checked in, take off the helmets, and they get to change before doing the water part.
Because now you're going to get wet.
Now you're going to get wet. So they don't go straight into the water. They get a chance to change. The guides also take off the saddles off.
You start to take them now in a circular pattern now.
Yeah, it
in
works.
that water.
You know, the water part, I do wish that we had more of the swim, that it could be longer for the water part. It's short, but it is enjoyable because
Yes,
you don't
it
go
is.
around twice, and it works out perfect here because it's a cove, meaning when
It's
it's
like C shape.
yeah, but when it's really rough out as well, because it's in a cove, it's protected, so your swim is not cancelled. So you're having rough seas, bad weather, the cove protects it, so they can still calmly do the swim.
And you're pretty much covered. I mean, the horses most of the time, I mean, half of the horses above water, but I mean the horses are tall, so we're looking at about 6 feet of water or 5
Yeah.
feet thereabout.
You get-
So Jessica, how you come up with this idea? I mean, it is kind of off. It's not too far off the beaten path, but it's definitely off the main.
That's right. Okay, so like how Sand and Saddle was started, basically. Oh boy. Okay, so I was the manager for Bracco Stables, which was a horseback riding tour company, which was open for over 22 years. And family members of mine ran it. Okay, I was there for probably, if you're including the COVID years, I worked with them for maybe about 7 years. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, eventually Bracco Stables had to shut down, which was obviously really hard, and a lot of other companies went through that, the same situation. On our island, as I'm sure many of you know, our animal cruelty laws are basically non-existent. You know, there are laws, but the fine is just a slap on the wrist. And I see how a lot of these horses end up on the island. Because our laws are not strict, you know, you have persons using them for business, and then they're run down. So for instance, you'll be driving down the road, you'll see a guest on a thin horse with his ribs showing, or an unhealthy horse. I did not want our horses to end up like that and to be sold to people we did not know, because with the company shutting down and money being owed still to Bracco Stables from tour companies as time went on, they had to sell the horses. So that was really hard. That was hard to accept.
Right.
I do need to big up Bracco Stables for continuing with no money to take care of the horses as best they could. Because what they did at the beginning for quite a few months was had the 2 stables guys come in, just check on the horses, take care of them. Of course, when you don't have feed as often, you know, some of them will drop some weight. But there are other companies, smaller companies, which shut down, and I won't say any names, of course, out of respect, but the horses, it was a completely different outcome for those horses, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I mean, when COVID hit, there are just some companies who said, listen, we don't have no money, and to take care of this is too expensive.
Yeah.
And so I presume there were horses that died.
There were. There were at one of those companies. I mean, people reached out to me asking who those horses belonged to. They would pass them on the road. And then I had heard too that other people in the horse community had to help and donate food, and some of them were so bad that they had to be put down. So I did not want the horses being sold to people that we did not know, and the shareholders of Bracco Stables understood that. So I decided, now keep in mind, remember this is during a pandemic, so I'm not working, I don't have a new job yet, I'm assisting to take care of the horses as best as I can, so I don't have any income coming in. So I decided, you know what? I don't want these horses to be sold. They have a great home at Bracco Stables. There's a farm. They have land, pasture land and everything. I'm going to purchase as much as I can. Okay, this was never ever planned, right? So I purchased what I can. An amazing friend, actually, he loaned me some money to, you know, purchase, to add on and purchase what I could. But unfortunately, there were still more than half the remaining horses. You're talking about 42 horses, so 42 horses. So I had that dilemma. I was not comfortable with one horse leaving the property because, as I said, I see how a lot of these horses end up. So the shareholders gave me time because nobody was pressuring them saying, hey, we want to buy some horses, so they gave me time. But eventually, as months went on, people started going to the shareholders directly and asking questions.
Now, to buy the horse themselves.
Exactly. So with that much horse, and remember now, they need money. There's no income, so you still have to finish paying staff off and everything, and pay, you know, as any company does when shutting down. So then I'm like, oh gosh.
To find all the Kareems Quest content in one place, visit the website kareemsquest.com. You'll see colorful adventure stories, a lot of pictures of Jamaica's beautiful landscape, and articles that highlight the many unique things about Jamaica. It's all at kareemsquest.com.
This is trouble because yes, it's family members, but at the end of the day, you have to remember it's a business as well, right? So, and let me say, not all horses would have been sold,
right?
But still, you know, you're talking about a decent amount.
How many horses do you think that Bracco Stables had at that time?
42. 42, including I had 4 of my own personal horses as well, which I had purchased a few years ago that I needed a home. That was, 42. I was saying it was 40 before, but it was 42 total. So friends of mine had been suggesting to me during that year to start a fund for the horses. I did not feel comfortable with doing that because I'm not a charity and there are many other persons and charities who could use those donations.
Right.
So I refused to do that. However, when persons started showing interest in wanting to buy horses, I went online because I had no other option. I didn't want to go and take a loan. I didn't want to ask anybody for money. Well, I ended up doing that online. So I explained the situation and instantly people started sending messages saying, you know, they would donate whatever they could to help as best they can. Within an hour of that post, the Montego Bay Animal Haven, Tammy Brown, a friend of mine, had reached out, without me knowing, had reached out to somebody in the UK. That lady, her name is Lucy, she owns Turtle's Nest Villa.
Right.
Which you
in
know
St.
about.
Elizabeth, right.
Which you know
so
about.
persons, real quick, if you want to know more about Turtle Nest Villa, it's a lovely villa in Treasure Beach, and it's right along the seaside, and you know, it's somewhere where turtles come every year and they hatch right there, and then you get to see them walk back into the water. It's a lovely experience, a continent. And you can see that on my YouTube page, on my Facebook. You can search for Kareem's Quest Turtle Nest Villa to watch that episode.
Make sure you check that out. What's great too about Turtle's Nest Villa, obviously, as you can tell when you hear what happened, is that they are, you know, even though the owner lives overseas, she does donate to the community as well. She's huge in charity work overall and is an animal lover.
Right.
So she had said, well, how much does she need? We will donate for her to cover to purchase the rest of the horses, which was probably like talking about over 20 horses, right? She had two conditions: as long as they get to stay in my care and on Bracco Stables property on the farm. And honestly, I've never even won a prize in my life, okay? I had a mix of emotions. This was all within an hour. I wanted to either pass out, scream, and cry all at the same time. I was shocked. So I contacted Lucy and we started the process. And the shareholders, obviously, I had to ask them, hey, you know, are you okay? Eventually we'll set up something where I pay something to Bracco Estates. They've been giving me a lot of time. And they loved it. They were thrilled because they do generally, you know, love the horses and wanted what was best for them. I did get from some people, you know, why are you taking on 42 horses by yourself? You're not a company yet. They're a lot of work. You don't need, which is honest, I don't even need half those horses for business. But it wasn't about me needing them, it was about them needing me and them being able to keep a safe home. So that was that. I took on all those horses by myself during a pandemic. This was never planned.
And this is a rough economic time. You're doing this on your dream.
Very, yeah. It became a dream because it wasn't always my dream to do this, to work with horses. I wanted the family business to expand and grow together, you know. But yeah, that's how Sand and Saddle was created. That's how it started.
So you have Jessica, a few friends, and a lot of horses.
A lot of horses.
And an anorexic financial standing.
I love how you put that. I've never heard it finances been put that way, but that's a fantastic way to put it. And then this wonderful location, it wasn't like this. So it's not like I opened in one day. You know, you have to get paperwork done and everything.
Right. So walk me through that now. So you met the bold step to acquire the horses.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How long between acquiring the horses and setting up the business? Like literally start running the business.
That is so.
Do you recognize any of these items? Well, test your Jamaica knowledge at kareemsquest.com.
Such a good question. I would say within a matter of a few months, because I had to put, you know, certain things in place. You have to make sure you have your COVID protocols, get permission, make sure the horses are healthy, because it's not like where they were suffering, but because of everything that went on, you had quite a few of them who had dropped some weight. So you're getting them, you know, grooming them, getting them to put weight back on, but then also fixing up this location. So that the building, which you don't see in the shot right now, was repainted. I brought in a tractor to this beach because there was a lot of erosion. So they leveled the beach, put more sand, and it just did not look like this. And I needed to do all of that. I didn't want to just open and then have a place that kind of looked run down and you could tell had been, you know, not in use for about a year. So and as you said, a very anorexic financial, you know, situation. I couldn't hire people to come and do this every day. So I was going in, taking care of the horses. The stables guys were fantastic. I have a wonderful team that genuinely cares about the horses. It's not possible without them. So they would assist, and if I said, hey, just give me a few days or a week to pay, they knew I was honest with them every step of the way. But I still needed to work on this place as well. So I would also come here and do work like clearing rocks in the water. I remember being here for literally one day and being in the water, taking rocks out to clear an area. And that was for 7 hours. I got a bad sunburn, that's why I remember that so well. And it's literally, you
There's
understand.
There's a time that you told me that you tied a rope around you.
Yes, I had. So they have like this big, I don't know what it was used for before, but this big floating square like styrofoam thing. So I tied a rope around my waist, went to an area in the beach, in the water, and loading up the thing, filling it with rocks and stones as most I could manage, right? And I have the video. I'll post it, you know, when this is done one day, so you guys can see and making a pal to clear all that out of the water. And
Because
then I would bring it.
you have to do so much manual labor then.
I
Because
had to, yeah.
You
You
can't
have
pay
to.
nobody.
I could not pay the amount of people that I needed, and it's COVID. So I don't want to have people coming in, doing work, and then they have to wait a long time to get their pay.
What
I
was a
wouldn't have been happy
typical
with that.
day like for you in those early stages? What time would you reach here and what time would you leave this property?
So if I would go to the stables, because I would start at the stables most of the time, checking on the horses, working on the horses.
And what time we're looking at?
Sometimes between 6 and 7, depending what needed to be done. Sometimes 8. Usually no later than 8 o'clock. No later than that.
And then
to
you
get the
come
early
over
start.
here?
Not every day. Not
But
every
the days
day,
that
but
you were
like
working over here, what time would you come over here?
that morning with the rocks and the 7 hours over here, I started probably at like about 6:30 that morning before it got too hot. And I had a staff member who helps clean the beach and keep it how it is. He was here that day. He's been with my family from my grandfather's days, and he was here that day too, and he couldn't believe it. He was like, I'm gonna tell the guys that how much you worked and that they don't know work, but just he was so shocked. So, but I have to say, I'm not the type of person in general to stand around, point and delegate. And I think when your staff see you doing things, doing that manual labor, it makes them respect you more and also want to put in more and help you. And that relationship that I have with my staff has made a huge difference in how they work and everything, because they see we work together. I'm reasonable with them and I am there with them. There were times when I could not pay, so for instance, I would hire up one guy to come in half day, go and check on the horses, you bring them in from pasture. When I could not do that every day to pay them, I would go in myself, bring the horses in from pasture. Sometimes it was a nightmare because they would end up scattered. And bring them in from pasture myself, 42 horses in the stables, checking on them, feeding them. And so just to show you everything, I learned, I did a course once, it was in New York, and the instructor told us, and it stuck with me ever since, this was like over 10 years ago, and she said you should never ask your staff to do something that you yourself would not be willing to do. And that has always stuck with me.
Jessica, what's your lowest point?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. I may get emotional with this. Catch me off guard again. I would have to say I remember this being one of the lowest points. There was a lot of negativity going on in the world, and then I was in the stables and I was so tired and being worried about securing the horses. I had not been able to secure the horses yet, and I felt like giving up. And I remember sitting on a wall and a horse coming up to me, and I didn't want the staff to see me emotional, the guy that was there that day. And I have a video too of when I did a post actually, and I'm walking a horse to the pasture, and I was feeling really run down and low because I did not know what would happen. And I was like, am I going to be able to do this?
Because you don't want to hear a call 6 o'clock in the morning that your stable is empty.
Right.
Because horses are extremely valuable.
Yeah, they are. These horses, which is another thing I've always respected about Bracco stables, is that they're not so for instance, if it's a race horse or a polo horse, those are usually sold at a younger age. Those are a lot of money. What Bracco stables did was they never bred horses on the property. They purchased horses when they needed a home. So you're talking about like retired from a racetrack, or someone can't afford to have a horse anymore. Horses from breeders, and they're not holding their pregnancies and they just want to put them up for sale. And so they are valuable, but not as valuable as some really rack up to be under $1 million, but it's still a lot of money for them because they're in good condition. It's not like they're ancient horses. They're healthy, great looking horses.
Your
in good
highest
condition.
point?
Highest point, I've had a few. One that is to this day I will never forget and have never forgotten.
As Jamaicans, there are some things that we like better than others. Visit kareemsquest.com and vote for your preference.
It wasn't even a busy day, I had these 2 guests. They came and did the tour. They had a fantastic time. It was a couple. I think they went out on their own, meaning I don't think it was a group of them. And they heard how the company was started. We were talking about the story. and I had told them that I want to do a therapy program eventually, meaning it's not just a business for me. That was another condition I had to have, was a way in how we can give back. So one of my passions is to be able to start a therapy program, but also a give back to Jamaica program, where we bring kids in state care, meaning like nursing homes, going to communities, to get them transportation to come down here for a day, so they have that experience and also education, right? So they heard the therapy part, which stood out to them, and they told me that both of them are war veterans, and the husband suffers from PTSD, which is, war and trauma, basically. And they wrote a raving review about that, and she said it's the calmest she has seen her husband in a while. And that, to me, it wasn't a busy money-making day, but knowing you're helping someone, you're giving them this great experience, and you're making that difference, that will always be one of my highest points. Always, always.
Jessica, your story serves as a big inspiration to many persons, regardless where you are on this planet. We all have low points, we all go through struggles, we all see what's happening in the world, and many a times the negative things do have a weight that they put on us. And for many of us to get up in the morning and to still pursue our dream, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of faith in life. You exemplify that, you show that, you know what I mean? And you are very honest also about your challenges and your struggles, which you have shared with me. Yeah?
Yeah.
And starting a business does create its own level of anxiety, because you usually have to start this on your own. You're not a company, you're not a conglomerate. You don't have any strong lineage of credit. You're doing this on your own and with the help of friends and loved ones who can chip in with whatever they can, and you're always appreciative. And so when business owners like yourself can go out and go on a limb and develop something like this and be human about it serves as an inspiration to so many. So much respect, my sister.
Oh, pick up yourself.
Right?
Thank you
Persons,
so much.
stay tuned to Kareems Quest. You can view all of these videos and these interviews on my YouTube page, my Facebook page, my Instagram page. It's Kareems Quest, or you can go to my website, kareemsquest.com. As usual, stay safe, and you're always welcome to join the quest.